In the heart of this story lies the Italian painter Bruno Amarillo, who created the haunting artwork known as The Crying Boy. This captivating piece, painted in the 1950s, features a child with a deep, melancholic gaze that captures not only sadness but also an aura of mystery. However, after its creation, unsettling tales began to emerge, tales that would turn the innocent visage of the child into a symbol of fear and tragedy. Welcome to Shrouded Mysteries, where we uncover the most unsettling and enigmatic stories from around the world. Today, we delve into the sinister origins of a painting that has sparked curiosity and fear for decades. Some say it's a mere work of art, others a cursed object tied to tragedies. Join us as we explore the secrets of The Crying Boy. Reports of the painting's curse first began to surface in the early 1980s, particularly after a series of inexplicable house fires in England. In 1985, a family living in a quaint home in the town of Birmingham hung the crying boy in their living room, believing it to be a charming addition to their decor. Shortly after they hung it, their house went up in flames under mysterious circumstances. Miraculously, while the rest of the house was engulfed in flames, the painting remained completely untouched, as if shielded from the inferno. This incident was not isolated. In 1986, the Johnson family of London experienced a similar fate. After purchasing the painting from a local auction house, their home burned down within weeks. Again, the crying boy emerged unscathed. As news of these events spread, local newspapers like the Daily Mail began to publish stories highlighting the peculiar pattern. Headlines screamed about the cursed painting, igniting public fascination and fear. Terrified owners, left without explanations, began sharing their experiences and in local gatherings, feeding into the legend surrounding the painting. Some claimed to have felt an unsettling presence when the painting was near, while others reported strange occurrences like flickering lights and odd sounds when they tried to display it. Rumors circulated that the painting was haunted or cursed, leading to a growing dread associated with owning it. As more stories emerged, the crying boy transformed from a mere artwork into a symbol of misfortune, shrouded in a veil of mystery that seemed to echo the sadness captured in the child's eyes. Tragedies continued to mount for those who acquired the crying boy. Families who hung the painting in their homes were often faced with inexplicable misfortunes that seemed to follow them like a dark shadow. Among the most harrowing tales is that of the Smith family from Nottingham, who believed they were merely adding a charming piece of art to their collection. In 1987, shortly after they displayed the painting, the family began experiencing a string of calamities. It started with their eldest son, Michael, who suffered a severe motorcycle accident that left him hospitalized with critical injuries. The family rallied together to support him, hoping for a swift recovery, but the situation only worsened. Just weeks later, Susan, the matriarch of the family, fell gravely ill with an unexplained fever, keeping her bedridden and weakening her resolve. As if fate had plotted against them, the final blow came when they received a devastating call. David, the father, was involved in a horrific car crash while driving home from the hospital. He lost control of his vehicle on a rain-slicked road, colliding head-on with an oncoming truck. The accident left David dead and the family shattered. Rumors began to circulate in Nottingham. The Smith family's misfortunes were not seen as isolated incidents, but as the effect of the crying boy hanging on their walls. Neighbors whispered of a curse, speculating that the painting held a sinister power over its owners. As the story spread, it captivated the local media. The Nottingham Post ran a front-page story titled "Cursed Art: The Smith Family's Tragic Tale," igniting public interest and fear. This was not the only tragic incident. In 1989, the Harper family of Manchester encountered their own calamity. They purchased the painting from a flea market, unaware of its dark history. Within a month, their youngest daughter Emily mysteriously disappeared. The family searched tirelessly, but she was never found. Their grief was compounded by strange occurrences in their home. Objects would move on their own, whispers echoed in the hallways, and shadows danced on the walls at night. In the wake of these tragedies, local paranormal investigators began to take an interest in the crying boy. They sought to uncover the truth behind the painting's dark reputation. As they delved into the stories of its previous owners, they found a common thread, a deep sense of sorrow, and an unshakable fear that seemed to linger long after the painting was removed. The fear surrounding the crying boy transcends the mere stories of fires and accidents. It taps into something deeper, our innate dread of the unknown and the power of belief. Many psychologists argue that the so-called curse is a manifestation of mass hysteria, where fear spreads like wildfire, distorting reality for those who encounter the painting. However, as we dig deeper, we find that the line between psychology and the supernatural becomes dangerously blurred. One of the most unsettling accounts involves Margaret Thomason, a widow from Liverpool who purchased the painting in 1990. Margaret had heard the rumors of the painting's curse, but as a lifelong skeptic, she scoffed at the idea of a piece of art possessing dark powers. Her dismissal of the superstition, however, would mark the beginning of her ordeal. Shortly after bringing the crying boy into her home, Margaret began to feel a presence, something cold, heavy, and watchful. Her friends noticed her behavior becoming erratic. "It was as if she wasn't herself anymore," said Alice Browning, a close friend. "She looked over her shoulder constantly, like someone was watching her, even when she was alone." The weight of Margaret's fear seemed to take on a life of its own, trapping her in a downward spiral. Her health deteriorated, and within 6 months, she was hospitalized after a breakdown, convinced that the painting was cursing her from the inside out. Belief, they say, is a powerful thing. Psychologists have suggested that the crying boy is an example of a nocebo effect, the inverse of a placebo. Just as faith in a treatment can heal, belief in a curse can harm. Those who displayed the painting were already primed to expect disaster, and the smallest misfortune would feed their fears, spiraling into catastrophe. But there are stories that seem to defy simple psychology. Take the case of Peter Caldwell, an antiques dealer in Sheffield. In 1992, Peter acquired a large collection of paintings, including several copies of The Crying Boy. A rational man with no patience for superstition, Peter dismissed the stories and stacked the paintings carelessly in a storage room. That very night, his entire shop burned to the ground, leaving only ashes, and amidst the debris, the stack of paintings remained untouched, their vivid colors as fresh as the day they were painted. Peter's case became a media sensation, reigniting public fear. But what disturbed investigators the most wasn't just the strange survival of the paintings. It was Peter himself. After the fire, he seemed to unravel. He refused to touch the paintings again, claiming they whispered to him in the dark. Weeks later, he abandoned his shop altogether and vanished from public life. Some say he left England entirely, while others believe the curse followed him wherever he went. What truly fuels the unsettling reputation of the crying boy are the testimonies from those who claim to have encountered its curse firsthand. These accounts, shared by collectors, families, and paranormal investigators, offer not just chilling anecdotes, but a glimpse into the emotional and psychological impact the painting has had on their lives. While some see the painting as a cursed object with malevolent intent, others argue it is merely an unfortunate work of art, misunderstood and vilified by fear. One of the most vivid testimonies comes from Frank and Marie Fletcher, a couple from Rotherham, who unknowingly inherited the painting from Marie's grandmother. Marie recounts, "I always found the painting unsettling, but my grandmother adored it. She said it reminded her of an orphan she knew during the war. However, after the grandmother passed away, strange events began to plague the Fletchers' lives. Electrical appliances malfunctioned, unexplained cold spots appeared throughout the house, and their cat refused to enter the room where the painting was hung. Things took a terrifying turn one evening in 1991 when a candle on the mantel tipped over, sparking a fire. The blaze consumed the living room, but once again, the crying boy was found intact beneath the ash and debris. It was like the painting was mocking us," Frank said, visibly shaken as he recalled the incident. The couple, desperate to rid themselves of the artwork, burned it in their backyard. Yet, even after it was destroyed, they claimed the unsettling energy lingered in their home for months. Not everyone is convinced the painting is cursed. David Hanley, a well-known art collector, believes the curse is nothing more than a myth perpetuated by fear. "We tend to project our emotions onto objects, especially ones as evocative as the crying boy," Hanley explained. "This painting is hauntingly beautiful. It captures sadness so well that it unsettles people, and in unsettling them, it creates stories that spiral into fear." Theories about the painting's supposed curse range from the psychological to the supernatural. Some speculate that the artist, Bruno Amarillo, might have infused the painting with dark energy, perhaps even unwittingly by channeling his own sorrow into the piece. Others suggest that the child depicted in the portrait was cursed or had suffered a tragic fate, thus binding his spirit to the artwork. A popular urban legend claims that the boy in the painting was an orphan whose family perished in a fire, and his presence now draws flames wherever the painting is displayed. Though no evidence supports these stories, they have become part of the legend, blurring the lines between fact and fiction. Paranormal investigators have also weighed in on the painting's aura. Sarah Collins, a well-known psychic medium, conducted a séance in 1994 with a group of paranormal researchers in an attempt to contact any spirit connected to the crying boy. During the séance, she reported feeling a suffocating sense of grief, as if a child's sorrow had filled the room. Investigators present claimed to hear faint cries echoing from the walls. Collins concluded that while the painting itself may not be cursed, it could serve as a conduit for unresolved emotional energy. Skeptics, however, offer more grounded explanations. They point out that many versions of the crying boy were printed on flame-retardant material, which could explain why the paintings survived house fires while other objects were consumed. "It's not magic, it's physics," one fire investigator argued. Still, even logical explanations haven't stopped people from fearing the painting, as its legend grows stronger with each retelling. Whether a conduit for dark energy, a misunderstood work of art, or a case study in the psychology of fear, the crying boy has left an indelible mark on those who encounter it. Each testimony adds a new dimension to the enigma, inviting viewers to draw their own conclusions. Is the painting truly cursed, or are we simply afraid of what we cannot understand? What lies behind the crying boy? Is it just a painting, an innocent piece of art misinterpreted by fearful minds, or does it harbor something far more sinister, something that slips through the cracks of reason and hides in the darkest corners of belief? The questions remain unanswered, and perhaps that is where the true power of the painting lies, in its ability to elude understanding and leave us unsettled, teetering on the edge of rationality and fear. Despite all the stories, investigations, and testimonies, no definitive answer has ever been found. The painting continues to evade explanation. Fires have been investigated, coincidences catalogued, and skeptics have offered their theories, but none of it has stopped the legend from growing. Like a ghost that refuses to be exorcised, the crying boy lingers, unsettling anyone who dares to peer too closely into its gaze. Some say the painting's curse is fueled by the emotions we invest in it, drawing energy from our fears and doubts. Others insist that objects like these can become psychic batteries, storing negative energies from the tragedies they witness. Could it be that the painting absorbs the sorrow of those who own it, reflecting their fears back at them in ways they cannot comprehend? Or is it simply a misunderstood relic of the past, dragged into the realm of folklore by our need to make sense of random misfortune? There are those who refuse to believe the curse at all. Professor Alan Woodward, an art historian, argues that the legend surrounding the crying boy is a modern fairy tale, a reflection of society's tendency to personify art. Throughout history, we've attached meaning to objects, ascribing spirits, curses, or powers to them, he says. The crying boy is no different, a reflection of our fascination with fear, a story that grew out of coincidence and tragedy, feeding off itself. And yet, believers are equally certain that something far darker lies behind the painting. Father Marcus Bianchi, an exorcist from Milan, recalls a case in 2001 where a family brought the painting to his church, convinced it had cursed their home. The child's eyes, Bianchi said, held something unnatural, like a presence. I performed the rites, but I cannot say with certainty that the curse was broken. I felt something linger in that room long after the painting was gone. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this mystery is that the painting has not disappeared. It continues to resurface in antique shops, flea markets, and second-hand stores. Some versions are exact replicas of the original, while others seem subtly different. A darker expression here, a shadow in the background that wasn't there before. It is as if the painting is waiting, moving from place to place, searching for its next victim. In 2010, a journalist named Emma Langford tracked down several copies of the painting across the UK, hoping to debunk the curse once and for all. She interviewed collectors who still own the crying boy and found that many refused to discuss it in detail. Some believed talking about the painting could reignite the curse, while others admitted they had locked it away, unwilling to risk displaying it. Langford herself confessed, in the final lines of her article, that she felt a chill each time she looked into the painting's tear-filled eyes. "I don't believe in curses," she wrote, "but there is something about that boy's gaze that stays with you, like the shadow of a dream you can't quite remember." And so, the mystery endures. Each theory only deepens the enigma, and every testimony brings us closer to the uncomfortable truth that perhaps we will never truly understand what lies behind the crying boy. But maybe that's the point. Perhaps the answer is not meant to be found. After all, some questions are better left unanswered. As we conclude this journey into the unsettling tale of the crying boy, we invite you to reflect on your own relationship with art, fear, and the unknown. What do we see when we look at a painting? Is it just brush strokes on canvas? Or is it something more, something that stirs the darkest parts of our mind, making us wonder what else might be lurking beneath the surface? In the end, the crying boy remains an unsolved mystery, suspended in the eerie twilight between reality and superstition. Perhaps the truth lies hidden in the shadows, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to discover it. Until then, the painting endures, watching, silently waiting for the next chapter of its story to unfold. And now, we leave you with one question to ponder. Would you dare to hang the crying boy in your home? Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel to continue exploring the most chilling and enigmatic stories the world has to offer. Together, we'll keep uncovering the shadows, only on Shrouded Mysteries.